What will the Mentalics do now that they have Gaal and Hari and Salvor? What will Polly and Brother Constant do now that they're on Trantor? Welcome back. This is Sean's Take, and I am Sean Redmond. Welcome to the home of the Telefosi. This is your spoiler warning. From here on out, I will trust that you don't mind if it's been spoiled or you've seen the show. Also, I'll be using some video clips from the show as I make points, and that is under the fair use provision of the Copyright Act of 1976. All right, let's unpack. So this, I spent some time during episode 5 complimenting this show on only covering 2 of the storylines per episode and alternating between the 2 for the episode. And then this week, they just forgot how to do that and threw a whole bunch of stuff at us. A lot of which we didn't need this week. We could have waited. So let's cover some of the small ones. We see Hober Mallow get to where Hari sent him, and where he sent him was the middle of nowhere. But as he's drifting in the middle of nowhere, a gigantic ship appears in a very Independence Day style and captures Hober's ship and Hober himself. And Hober is flung onto this platform. One of the Solarians, or Spacer, augments, comes out and asks, why, Hober Mallow, why have you defiled the home swarm? So the Solarians must view themselves as a swarm. Interesting. They're the Spacers. They're the ones in the spaceships when the regular humans are asleep. They're the ones that monitor. General Rios has a Solarian officer on his ship. Just interesting. And that's pretty much it for Hober Mallow. We went all the way there for that. Brother Constant and Polly finally got to Trandor, as Hari instructed them to go spread the word. And we see a Spacer or a Solarian helping Brother Constant out of the sleeping chamber. And she gets to see Trantor for the first time. They travel down, and Polly says, we're not going straight to the hotel. We're here with an expense account. We're going out drinking. And they go out drinking. And he, of course, has too much to drink. And they get back to the hotel room finally. And he has a bit of a moment of clarity that I kind of liked. He explains to Brother Constant that the big difference between the two of them is that Polly is a believer, but Constant has faith. Polly believes because he saw with his own eyes Hari Seldon come out of the vault. Brother Constant has faith. And I thought that was a nice moment for him and a good scene, which immediately is interrupted by guards placing them both under arrest and putting the helmets on them. So now they are captured by Empire. So again, these are 2 scenes that didn't really need to happen this week. We could have had them another week. So when we combine them with the fact that Brother Day introduces his empress to be to the masses, I guess that's what made the not Gaal storyline long enough for the episode. So we really only see Brother Day, Brother Dusk and Dawn, with a throng of people, and Brother Day gives a nice speech about Cleon the First's mother, who was an empress before Cleon created the genetic dynasty. And there's a huge statue unveiled of her to remind everybody that there have been female empresses. It's not a bad move. He then admits that his heart goes pitter-pat when he's near a specific woman, indicating that he's in love, which he's not, but that's the indication he gives. And he introduced your new empress, Empress Sareth. And everybody kneels, and she steps forward and bows, and then to everyone's surprise, including Brother Day's, and to Brother Dusk's amusement, she gives a little speech. And it's very salt of the earth, working where, your needs are our mission kind of thing. And Brother Day is not amused that she chose to speak without being invited to speak. And that's the end of that. We don't see any follow-up to that. The rest of this episode mostly has to do with Hari and the effect that Hari has on people around him and some of Hari's history. So we learned a lot in this episode. Tellem Bond, who is the lead I will never be able to say this word correctly. The Mentalix leader. Hari accuses her of some things as she accuses Hari of some things. And I'm not sure either one of them are wrong. Hari believes that he was preoccupied with a memory because she was digging it out of his subconscious so that she could understand it and use it against him. Which she does. Hari warns Gaal that if she allies with Tellem and the Mentalix, that she can't even trust her own mind. And if you can't trust your own mind, what have you got? But of course, Tellem has seen Gaal's vision of the future. And she says, what if it's not the future? What if it's your hell that you've seen? You may not be able to tell the difference. And I can help you save Salvor. So we see the beginnings of Gaal taking over the Mentalix, which will then put her in command of them when the mule takes over to be fighting. We also see that Tellem is ruthless. She uses their ability to make Gaal and Salvor think that Hari has taken their ship, the Beggar's Lament, and left. Tied to 4 stakes in the water, and the tide's coming in. And we see Hari flashback to when he started psychohistory, when he wrote his first paper about it. And the person at the university, I'm not even sure where Hari was when he wrote it. I assume it was a university of some sort, like Caltech. There was a doctor named Dr. Tinge, who represents Empire at this place, at this institution, advises Hari to reword some of his paper because Empire won't like it if it stands. And he says, it's not treason to say that all empires fall. And she tries to warn him. And this is the moment we meet the love of Hari's life, Yana Kine. So they hit it off without getting into all of the details. Please watch the episode. At one point, when Hari perfects the opening of the Prime Radiant, and he does the little flourish and it opens the first time, she says, that's great, but it's the underlying ideas that really make it matter. She then gives him a pendant that looks like the vault on Terminus. And the pendant that he has at first looks like 2 crystals, a blue one and a red one. And she has one just like it. And Hari knows immediately what it means, that Yana is pregnant. What we find out later is that pendant is linked to the one that Yana has, and it allows Hari to feel both her heartbeat and the baby's heartbeat all the time. It's kind of cool. So when Dr. Tinge kidnaps Yana to force Hari into doing what Empire wants, which now Empire want to transfer Hari to a specific place so they can keep him under heel. When he says no, they have her kidnap Yana. Yana comes for Hari, shows a hologram of her tied up and sitting in a chair. And Hari says, she's already dead. And Dr. Tinge says, no, she's fine. All you have to do is listen to me. Everything will be okay. And he finally says, no, she's dead. I had the thing that felt her heartbeat stop, and the baby's. And that's when the doctor realizes there was a baby. So Hari takes her out to where he used to go with his parents as a boy. And they would use drones, like herding dogs, to herd cattle things. And they would come to the edge of a cliff, and they would come off the edge of the cliff, and their wings would open, and they would fly. We find out at the end of this episode that they would actually fly to the moon that we see there, because the moon and the planet share an atmosphere. So there is a corridor of atmosphere, and they would go graze there and then come back. And Hari, when he was a child, saw the pattern that the herd runs in. And he is able to be in the middle of the stampede and pivot and step and never get hit, because he knows. He figured, he worked the math. So he takes Dr. Tinge, who murdered his love and his baby, his daughter, and they're standing in the middle of the herd as they stampede. And he pivots once with her, and then he turns and throws her into the herd, and she is trampled to death. So that is the memory. The trampling to death is the memory that Tellem Bond pried out of Hari's mind to use against him. So we see the tide come in, finish coming in. Hari's last thoughts are of Yana, and he dies again. So I don't believe that consciousness is getting re-uploaded anywhere, so we may be down to just the consciousness on Terminus. But who knows? So for the most part, that whole storyline of Hari and Gaal and Salvor and the Mentalics was great. This was a good episode for them. The little bits and drabs that we had from the other storylines felt like we were just trying to balloon the episode's runtime. We didn't actually do anything anywhere. We didn't learn anything. We introduced a couple of things, so I assume next week it'll be all about Brother Day reacting to his headstrong empress speaking out of turn, and Hober Mallow becoming allies with the Solarians. Blah. So that was a lot. I did like that to win Gaal's favor, Tellem Bond revealed that it was Salvor's birthday. So Gaal did give Salvor a piece of fruit as a present for her birthday, and did admit she wished she could thank the couple that carried, birthed, and raised Salvor. If you're just joining us and you didn't watch season 1, Salvor is Gaal's daughter because her fertilized egg was placed in a surrogate mother. Gaal had a relationship with Raish, who is Hari's son. It produced a fertilized egg, but that egg was kept. And then on Terminus, it was implanted, and Salvor was born. And then, because you sleep when you travel great distances in suspended animation, Salvor is now older than Gaal. It's Foundation. But it's really, it is moving along. We're learning a lot. We're getting deeper into characters, which is fantastic. The actors are all doing a great job. So a couple of the other things in this episode I really liked. I liked that Salvor is realizing that she's as smart as Gaal and Hari. You know, she puts it together that the Prime Radiant must be connected to the one on Terminus. You know, but she's not educated enough to know that something can exist in a quantum state in one object in two places, which is the Prime Radiant. But she's smart enough. That's going to help Gaal. I love the fact that the pendant that let Hari feel the heartbeat of the baby is the design he used for the vault. I don't know why. I just like that. That's what he did. Gaal didn't whine as much in this episode, you know, about not. So that's good. She is strengthening as a character, because it was getting a little tedious, the whining and the woe is me. And Salvor, right? Salvor also figured out in talking to Hari that, you know, Hari leads her to the realization that it's easier for Gaal to be angry at Hari for what happened to Raish, rather than admit the truth, which was Raish knew what was going to happen to Raish and began a relationship with Gaal anyway. That would be hard. That would be difficult to deal with and process. And of course, now Salvor knows that of her dad, Raish. So I am enjoying this show. I do like this episode. I just don't like that they force-fed us little bits and pieces of too many storylines. So let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know what other shows you're watching in the comments. You know, other shows that you may want to hear us participate in, do shows on, or ones that you're just enjoying. All right? I am going to start the Ahsoka series when it drops. I just found out it's dropping a day early. It's going to drop on the 22nd instead of the 23rd. But for now, that's it for Foundation, Episode 6. We saw the demise of yet another Hari, which might be why he was made corporeal again so that he could die. He had the audacity to think that it was so that he could have the resurrection as part of his story. I think it's so he could die again. And where do you think Gaal hid the Prime Radiant? Will Tellem be able to find it? Because we saw it pretend to be a piece of paper on Hari's desk when he was talking to Yana. And then when he touched it a certain way, it folded back up into the Prime Radiant. Where is it? Where did she hide it? That's it for this time. My name is Sean. This is Sean's Take. And I'll see you next time.